Without a doubt, Al Capone is an American icon. He really comes to define our culture in many ways. The immigrant story, heavy on the machine guns in this case. Nevertheless, it's a story of somebody coming up from nothing and making himself into something, in this case, something notorious.
I am Deirdre Marie Capone. Al Capone was my grand-uncle. Was Al Capone a mobster? Yes, he was. Was Al Capone a monster? No, he was not.
Well, I was a career cop in Chicago. I ended up as commander of detectives. I come from the south side of that great city. I probably heard Al Capone's name before I could walk. He was the most famous gangster. Everybody knew who he was. Everybody knew the legends of Al Capone.
I think Al Capone is the most famous real-life gangster of all. My name is Vince Gilligan. I created the television series Breaking Bad. I think America is interested in anti-heroes and criminals, gangsters. It's an interesting cultural phenomenon that we celebrate outlaws like Jesse James and Billy the Kid. Criminals that live a bigger-than-life kind of existence seem to live on in legend.
By the start of 1929, Louis Armstrong has made his 78 recording of West End blues. NBC has set up its permanent coast-to-coast radio network. Notre Dame has finally lost a football game after 25 years. And Al Capone is the undisputed crime boss, not only in the city of Chicago, but the whole of the United States. But even this is not enough for Capone.
It's February 14th, 1929, and in Chicago, it's supposed to be a day for love. I'm Michael Green, Associate Professor of History, UNLV. On Clark in Chicago, there's a warehouse. Several members of Bugs Moran's North Side gang were in this warehouse. They were told about a shipment of illegal alcohol. They ended up being greeted there by a bunch of guys in police uniforms. Bugs Moran was arriving. He saw the police car. He kept going.
The gangsters thought it was just cops coming to harass them and maybe try to get some money. And they said, you guys are going to be transferred for this.
A lot of times they did that as show, law enforcement. So, they had to show that they arrested everybody, but naturally they got off later on. But they would publicize the arrest. My name is Frank Calabrese Jr. I was born and raised into the Chicago mob. In Chicago, we call it the Chicago Outfit. My father was a boss in the outfit, which originally was started by Al Capone. So these guys are in there thinking it's nothing. They line them up against the wall.
All of a sudden, the police opened fire.
They mowed 7 men down, put 7 men against the wall and mowed them down.
And they get back in the cars and they take off.
Who's behind the massacre? Who done it? As usual with the mob, it's hard to figure it out. There are those who think the police were actually real police and not just people from the mob who got in uniforms. There's the theory, yes, obviously Capone is central to it.
Capone was in Florida at the time of the Valentine's Day Massacre, and when Bugs Moran heard about the killing, he said, the only person who kills like this is Capone.
There was always going to be a lot of theories because a guy like Al Capone can create a lot of theories.
I don't think the hit could have been carried out by anybody but Capone. Capone managed at the time of the killing to be in Florida in the office of the local state's attorney, the prosecutor, chatting with him. He couldn't have a better witness.
The biggest thing that gets me is the fact that Al Capone was very visible in Miami. Everything I've seen in that would be stuff that we would do. Just the fact that, he had a smirk on his face sitting down in Miami like, no, that wasn't me. There's people that will believe that.
Capone wanted to kill Moran. He would have known how to do it. But to go into a garage and kill 7 people in pursuit of a gang leader who isn't even in that garage does not sound like Al Capone's work. Capone was never charged. He was never even questioned because police didn't think he had anything to do with it.
To this day, nobody knows for certain. All we know is it's pretty devastating to Bugs Moran's gang. It's also going to end up being devastating to Al Capone's gang.